Twitter. It seemed to be very informative meetings. We'll start with some of the changes to the Electoral Act that you found out about.
Absolutely. ROMA conference was definitely very informative, and that's why I tend to go to these conferences, because there's a lot of information that we as councillors can learn, especially about changes that the Ontario government is making. And when some of the major changes coming, the Elections Act. So I think the biggest one, and this was touched on in the council meeting that just passed, was the introduction of the possibility of ranked balloting for municipalities, for municipal elections. And there's a lot that entails. It's a very complex subject, but the idea is that instead of just voting for one person for mayor, for example, you could rank your choices. So if there were 3 candidates running for mayor, you could put a 1, a 2, and a 3, and then they would use those votes to figure out who the winner is. But usually, in reading how it works, the person with the least amount of votes is removed, and then they would spread their second choices amongst the other 2 candidates that remain, because it works on the premise of a threshold of votes that you have to reach in order to be elected mayor. It's not just the most votes necessarily, it's a certain number that you have to have. And the same would be for councillors too. We are at large in the city, we're not warded. So instead of just voting for 10 by filling in a circle, you'd be ranking them from 1 to 10. And then it would be a similar process there. Some of the other changes that they've announced, for example, the date to file papers is no longer January 1st of the year, it's now May 1st, so the election period is shorter. I think everyone can agree that's probably better. You won't have people knocking on your door throughout the whole year, you don't have to hear about it throughout the whole year. And one of the changes that's coming back is that any candidate running for municipal offices in any municipality now requires 25 signatures before they file papers. This was an older rule before my time that was removed, but they've decided to bring that back. And I think it's good, because you need to be nominated essentially to file papers to run. 25 signatures is not a lot. Every candidate that ran here last time well exceeded that number of votes, and it should be easy to get. So those are some of the changes coming. Oh, and another one, financially, corporations and unions can no longer donate to municipal campaigns. This mirrors changes that happen at the federal level and that are happening at the provincial level as well. So it'll have to be individual donations going forward. So those are some of those will have major impacts, I think, on the election in 2018.
Absolutely. Now, the municipality of Cornwall is one of 3 or 4 in the province that are looking at the possibility of ranked ballots. I'll put you on the spot and get your thoughts on that possibility.
So I'll be honest with you, years ago, because it's come up before, I was against it. I didn't think it was an effective way to elect politicians. However, over time, I've kind of softened my views on it. And quite frankly, I think what it boils down to, because part of the process for implementing ranked balloting is public consultation. There has to be public consultation and feedback. So the stance I'm taking now is that if we were to explore this and we do our public consultations and there's an overwhelming support from the populace that say, hey, we want this, then I'm in favor of it, because it should be up to the people on that front. So I'll be looking to see where this goes, but it is a very complex process. It has to be in place a year before the election. So, we're running on a tight deadline now because we're in 2017. Next year is an election year. If it doesn't happen this year, there's always a possibility down the road. But again, we'll see where this goes. I think it's worth exploring. This sort of practice is done elsewhere. It's not necessarily done in Canada. I know that there are municipalities that are looking at it. I don't think any have it in place right now. In the States, my understanding is there's a few cities that do it there. And if you were to go to other countries, it's done there. So there is precedent and there is information we can look at to see how it works and what the results are.
And as the City of Cornwall continues to look at potential service sharing with our neighbours in the counties, that's something that's actually happening province-wide too, as municipalities with limited amount of dollars look to work together.
Absolutely. That's something that's been brought up at previous conferences I've attended. It came up again at ROMA this year. Water sharing is one. I think it's a big one. South Glengarry has approached Cornwall to share water services with us. We had a joint meeting with them, I believe it was last year. It may have been close to this time, actually, where they approached us and formally requested that we look at providing water to their municipality. City of Cornwall, the council agreed in principle. Now we need to know what that looks like. And this would result in, I think it'd be beneficial for the City of Cornwall, because we have to look at it like this. The municipality of South Glengarry has pledged to pay for the infrastructure of the installation of pipes. They do have some existing, but any further installation, and for the maintenance of these pipes. So there's no cost to the city on that front. We have the capacity at our wastewater and water treatment plants to do this because we're not at full capacity. We're not near full capacity. And at the end of the day, we will be billing those customers in South Glengarry and recovering the cost of supplying water. And those billings go into the overall water and sewer budget, which means they can be used for repairs throughout the system, which means essentially we'll be bringing new customers online to our system with new billings, with new revenue that we can use to spend money within the city of Cornwall for our repairs here. I don't see how that's a lose to the city. That's a big win because we talk about the infrastructure, you could call it an infrastructure deficit that we have here in the city and the backlog of work that needs to be done on our piping. I mean, this city's 233 years old approximately. There's a lot of old pipe there and it has to be replaced. To have new money coming in from a source that's beneficial to us, that means we can potentially undertake more repairs quicker and larger ones without having to worry about increasing tax rates, without having to worry about tapping into reserves. And this is exactly what we need. So we need to explore shared services like that.
Absolutely. Well, Justin, I'd like to thank you again for joining me to talk about ROMA and how it impacts us here locally.
Actually, absolutely, Gabe, my pleasure.
Right. For Local Matters, I'm Gabriel Riviere-Reed.